The next example of the law of cosines is a little bit more complex, but still very workable for this level of algebra. Now, this is the case where we'll be given three sides. We actually have no angle to work with. And since the law of cosines gives us three versions, and each one of them is a particular side being equal to the given formula, we really have our choice of which one of the three to use. It really does not matter. However, what I would suggest to you is this. When you start this, you can see in step 1, when we're choosing the law of cosines, which one to use, we suggest to you to use the angle opposite of the longest side. So if you drew this out, you can see that the side B is the longest side at 18 feet. So in this case, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use the law of cosines that has side B, and thus you will end up solving for angle B. Now, the reason we suggest this is because you can get some false solutions when solving for the other ones, and it can cause some problems with your total solution for the triangle. So always use the angle, or use the longest side to dictate which law of cosines you should use. So you can see here, again, we kind of have a three-step process. We start off with the law of cosines. In this case, we use side B being the longest side, so we are using side B, law of cosines version. And once we find angle B, we now have a complete ratio, and so then we're into the law of sines. And then lastly, we subtract from 180 to find that final missing angle. So this is not much different from what you saw before in the previous example, other than the fact that you have to make a decision on which version of the law of cosines you want to use. It's not really dictated for you as much. So here we go, sample problem 2. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so I'm going to start with the law of cosines, and we can see here that side B is the longest side. So I'm going to use the law of cosines version that has side B for solving for angle B. So I'll go ahead and set that up. Normally in the videos I kind of skip through the work a little bit, but I feel like this particular part of the problem is necessary for you to kind of follow along. What happens here is a lot of students will mess up their order of operations on this particular step and solving for B. So just follow along here, and I'll make some comments about it as we go through it. Now, I multiplied all this together to get the 160, and I went ahead and did all the squared values and left the cosine of B there. Okay, so now that we've gotten to this part, this is one of the spots where students can particularly make mistakes. You got to understand right off the bat here that negative 160 is technically being multiplied times the cosine of B. So the mistake that's generally made is that students will try to take 164 and subtract 160, and then from there divide the 4 out from both sides, but that's actually not the correct order of operation. So just remember that negative 160 is being multiplied to the cosine of B, so it's going to require us to subtract 164 first, and now I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 160. And once I have this, I can just use my inverse function of the cosine, and I can find out that the measure of angle B is approximately 82.8 degrees. Okay, so this is, just a little different, but a very important part of this is the order of operations. This is a place where some students would prefer to use the formula that we gave to you at the very beginning of the notes that has it already preset for the cosine of B, so that you don't make these order of operation mistakes. So if that's the route you want to go, you're more than welcome to. It may make it easier for you, especially as you're working the problems on Math Excel. However, as you go into the test, especially the unit test, you definitely want to make sure you understand or know what you're going to do, and make sure you understand and know those particular formulas as well. So let's go ahead and move on to the law of sines. Now that we have a completed ratio, we can use the law of sines for the second step. And on that particular part of the problem, since we've done law of sines many times now, I just went ahead and skipped through. And if you have any questions on that work, feel free to ask at a later time. And then last is the easiest part, just subtracting everything from 180. And we've now found the 3 missing angles.